Jake takes us back to the great state of Missouri for today's prospect spotlight video as we dive into an edge rusher on that Missouri defense. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network around. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of HorseshoeHuddle.com, and I'm joined, as always, by Jake Arthur, the boots on the ground over at Round Table Sports, covering your Indianapolis Colts. Today, we're continuing the Prospect Spotlight series with another player from this Missouri defense. Jake made this very tough on me because I had to look away from Josiah Trotter for a couple of snaps here to really focus on this next player, but Jake is going with Zion Young, the standout edge rusher from that same defense that we talked about earlier this week. Young was a Senior Bowl standout, offers impressive size and length. So, Jake, what more can you tell me about this promising edge rusher? And hopefully this can be one that Chris Ballard could hit on in a draft class.
Yeah, they've got to hit on one of these eventually, right? Like, let's keep our fingers crossed. We'll keep feeding Chris Ballard the ammo, and eventually he'll take the bait. But no, so Zion Young got on my radar when I saw him down in Mobile. Was one of the best defensive linemen of the week. Jumped out from the very first day. It carried on through one-on-ones, through positional work, through the 11-on-11s. Just he put together a whole good portfolio all week. So when you look at him as a player, 6'5", 262, over 33-inch arms. He's going to be just 22 in March. So he's got the good age you're looking for. He's not one of those 5, 6, 7-year college guys. He's got really good size for the defensive end position as well. 2 years at Michigan State before his finishing off 2 years at Missouri. He has increased his stats every year of his career. And over the last couple of years at Missouri has 9 sacks and 22 tackles for loss. Now, I do like guys to be a little more statistically productive than that. I kind of like an edge rusher a little more ready-made. But like I mentioned, he's increased his stats every year. So he's figuring it out as he goes, as he gets more playing time. When you look at some of his attributes physically as a player, again, I mentioned his size and length, but he's also got a ton of power. That's kind of his game. When he rushes the passer, he's much more of a bull in a china shop rather than one of those tiny little cricket guys that just bounce around and get taken out of a play. Very good against the run, very stout, as well as against as a pass rusher as well. Obviously, when you see him, he is able to disengage from blocks pretty easily. You see him use his extension. When it's in the run game, he's one of those guys that I like that kind of collapses down on the ball carrier. Even if he's on the block, he knows how to use his momentum to kind of end things there. He stays laser focused and he's got a high motor. So he doesn't allow himself to get taken out by just like what's going on peripherally. Once he sees where his target is, whether it's the quarterback or ball carrier, he's making a beeline for him. Now, he is not very polished yet when it comes to like his combat and his moves and his counter moves and all that. He's pretty reliant right now on his mobility and his power. He uses a lot of a bull rush. Now, while I started to sense that theme while I was watching him, he goes and surprises me on tape with a nice little spin move that worked really well. So the guy could pull out some tricks in his bag occasionally, but he's versatile as well. You see him in a 2, 3, 4-point stance. You see him lined up inside. You see him lined up outside. But he's got a lot of tools to work with. He's not even close to being where he's going to be. I see him as an ascending player for sure. He is not, again, he's not super polished. Like, I don't think he's going to drop into the league as a 10-sack guy, but he's not a big project either. Like, I think he'll have utility immediately, especially since he can defend the run as well. But I kind of like the fact that you don't see that he's got this full tool belt of pass rush moves yet, because he's productive and he knows how to get into the backfield and doesn't really have those things down yet. So you see a player who's got more to add, but he's already pretty solid.
Yeah. I will say too that Lou Anarumo has traditionally valued bigger edge rushers rather than like the smaller bendy guys. You look
Mhm.
at like the Sam Hubbards, the Trey Hendricksons. I mean, the Colts drafting JT Tuimoloau last year. He likes that kind of bigger edge rusher with the longer arms, bigger frame that can defend the run a little bit. So this does very much feel like a Lou Anarumo style of edge rusher. And yeah, I liked a little bit of his film. Like he's got some quickness in his hands, some pop in his hands. Still a pretty young player, like you mentioned, defended the run fairly well. So I came away pretty intrigued with what he could play. I think he can have that versatility to play across the defensive line as well. Maybe have some inside rushing snaps too, and kind of like how the Colts have used Dio Adangbo and Tyquan Lewis in the past. So yeah, I thought his film was pretty good. I think he kind of falls in. We'll talk about this more in the final segment, like in that round 2 to 3 range, a little bit of a project, but I think if you have him in the rotation and you're not expecting him to be this like 1,000 snap starter in year one, I think he can be a good player to build on going forward. So I do like his fit in this defense, and I think Lou Anarumo would value him a good bit.
Yeah, and when I was trying to think of comps and like just comparing him to guys that the Colts have had before, I do definitely think he's more of the JT Tuimoloau cloth, but I think I would rate him a little higher than I would have Tuimoloau last year. They've got kind of a similar skill set, but I just like kind of the juice that Young has on tape over Tuimoloau. But you add those two comparable players, you need that type of role filled on your team if you're the Colts. I just kind of let a couple of those similar style guys duke it out to see who comes out.
Yeah, and coming up, guys, I'm going to grill Jake just a little bit on that redundancy with JT Tuimoloau because
Uh,
that is my one hang up I think I have with him. But we'll talk
okay.
about it to close out this episode when we get back here in just a second. Workplace chaos, deadlines are stacking up, and the inbox is overflowing. And the one position that you have to fill is just still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, and more results. So when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the princess it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. So just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support your show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions applied. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
And welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be those sleepers you're looking for. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take that top spot. 5-Hour Energy Shot gives you a boost with zero sugar. I'm rooting for peach mango personally. That's one of my favorite combos. It brings that right peach flavor on the first sip, and then the mango adds a tropical depth and sweetness that I'm looking for. The drink has some smooth, rounded fruit profile, then slightly richer mouthfeel than all those citrus flavors. Strawberry watermelon or blue raspberry feel like locks as well, so you can never go wrong with those options either. So find your new flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. All right, Locked On Colts Everydayers, we are back with today's prospect spotlight, and Jake took us very, very far away back to the state of Missouri, a state that we've, this is our fourth one that we've done, and we've been to Missouri twice now, Jake. So clearly you're a big fan of that defense there. But Zion Young, I like this film. I like this film. Quick hands. I think there's some juice there as a pass rusher. I like the size profile. I'm just concerned with JT Tuimoloau, Jake, where we kind of already have a very similar player. And I think Lou Anarumo likes that mold, right? So I think that there's certainly, precedent for him going after this type of guy again. But I am a little concerned with that overlap. And then with JT Tuimoloau's really rough rookie season, having that same kind of mold come in here. So what are your thoughts kind of with that fit with him on this defense alongside JT Tuimoloau?
On mute, of course. It's been a while since I did that. But no, so like I do understand what you're saying, but I do think JT Tuimoloau, like that role and that mold is necessary. Like I do think you need that in this defense. Where you have the guy who's supposed to be your top pass rusher in Laiatu Latu. You should have a guy on the other side, like where Quiddipe was supposed to be, defending the run and still giving you some pass rush juice, not really ever having to leave the field. Like you're just a solid all-around 3-down player, what have you. Now, Lou, what he asks those guys to do up front, which I think was Tuimoloau's issue initially, was they've got a lot on their plate, and I think that's one reason Anarumo leans on veterans quite a bit, and it takes rookies a good bit of time to be able to kind of crack the lineup, because you did see Tuimoloau start to earn more favor as the season went on. But they're asked to do a lot, and it's a bit complex, especially when you ask those guys to drop into coverage and everything like you and I talked about recently. So I don't think it's like necessarily the roller skill set that's the concern as much as like just a guy's ability to quickly pick up the system. And that's hard for us to know unless, that's kind of like the intel teams get where, we could talk to teammates at like the combine and stuff. We can talk to the guys individually and kind of see where they're at in some different areas, but it's just hard to know. But as far as like the bigger guy who's not maybe the elite pass rusher, but is just a very solid 3-down player, I think that's necessary. And, I think you're replacing the old guard, like Quiddipe, Taekwon Lewis, Samson Ebukam. You're getting those older guys out, and you're still kind of keeping that type of role or skill set, but with younger guys, JT Tuimoloau, Zion Young, and then you have Laiatu Latu on the other end and whatever else you bring in at edge in the offseason. I think it's fine. I don't think it creates too much of a meh thing, which is maybe where you're getting at with it. But I think as long as you're productive, not everyone you get is going to get like a pass rush demon, and I think sometimes at least fans maybe get caught in that is every player you pick up, whether it's the draft or free agency, is supposed to have like this sky high ceiling, or they're already supposed to be super productive. But the truth is the NFL is filled with role players, and you just want to get the best player to that specific role as possible. And that's kind of where I see Zion Young, like worthy of a second round pick. Because again, this isn't like the 15th overall pick that we're talking about here. This is just a top 50 pick. I think this guy would be a good, solid addition there.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree there. I think a big thing for him to make sure that he doesn't have a rookie season to forget, like JT Tuimoloau just had, is the power has to translate. Like there has to be power and pop in the hands. This archetype of player does not work if you're not playing with power and winning with power. And we saw last year with JT Tuimoloau, he looked kind of sluggish and just didn't really showcase much of that power. So it's on him to have a good offseason and kind of carry that into the rookie year. Real quick, though, you did kind of just mention it, Jake. You said that second round is where you consider him here. Do you think that's kind of the range of outcomes for him? And like if the Colts were to take him, it would have to be at 47?
I think so. Because if he is considered a priority on their draft board or anything, I don't think you can wait till round 3 for him. If you're looking for that type of guy, Derek Moore from Michigan is maybe more available in round 3. But I've seen projections for Young in the 20s even, that's probably a little too high for me. But at the end of the day, I don't think he gets out of those top 64 picks. So if that's a guy you really want and you think you can get a solid edge defender with your first pick, then I think you got a strike right there, which is kind of what I think their goal with Tuamaloa was last year. Like, I think they liked him specifically, but it was probably more about filling that need than that guy initially, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was like if we're gonna need an edge rusher, let's take one here while we can, because who knows what it's gonna look like in round 3. So I agree. I mean, if you like him enough, and if Tuamaloa went that high last year, then I think Zion Young certainly could go that high as well. But yeah, I like the fit. I think he could be a good like big defensive end in this scheme. You let Latu do his roaming and do his speed rushing, and then you have to have the bigger ends on the other side to push the pocket. The key just is they have to be able to push the pocket, unlike JT Tuamaloa last year.
Yeah.
So that will be the key. But I like the projection for Zion Young. I think he can be a solid starter in this league. And yeah, it gives me some good vibes of other bigger defensive ends that I have liked in the past. That's all we have for today, though, guys. Thanks again for tuning in to this bonus episode of Locked On Colts. We'll be back here yet again tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe to our show so you get all the latest episodes. And if you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at ZachHicks2, all on social media. And if you never miss an episode, then remember the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Colts audio ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and much more. Head to lockedoncolts.supercast to join the club or follow the link in our show notes right now. And again, we'll be back here yet again tomorrow afternoon.